Good afternoon, and I'm welcoming you on behalf of the Office of the Ministry of Ayush in Zagreb at the Indian Embassy, and also on behalf of ICCR from India. And the theme today is a lecture or a discussion about the methodology of the teaching yoga. We can say also teaching and learning yoga. So it's a very interesting field. And we will slowly go into that topic. For that purpose, I will open the screen. So like this, then we can have better overview of the theme. So methodology of yoga education. And just a second, some more people. Okay. So in yoga education, it is education about the life itself, because the yoga is related to the whole life. Yoga means unity or integration, or we can say correlation of all the values of life. It is integrating knowledge, which gives us not only knowledge, but also experience of the integration of our life with the life of everything around us. For that, we need to know who we are and what is the reality of everything what is surrounding us. So from that point, we will start from the necessity of gaining the proper knowledge about the life. And yoga is, we can say, the science to give us that proper knowledge. And how do you gain the proper knowledge through yoga? There is one sutra in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, in the first chapter, the sutra number 7, which speaks about the value of the proper knowledge, which in the Sanskrit terminology, it is called pramana. That sutra says, pratyaksha, anumana, agamaha, pramanani. Pramana means the proper measure or insight into the reality of life, proper knowledge of life, pramana. And how to gain that knowledge? Patanjali says it is based on the 3 elements. First is pratyaksha. And pratyaksha means direct experience. So to gain proper knowledge of life, we need to have a direct experience of the reality of life. To have direct experience of the reality of our body, not only on the gross level of its function, but to have insight into the internal structure of our body and realize internal function of our body, and on deeper levels, and also to have insight into the function of our mind, our subjective aspect of life, and to know in a way the whole field of the life in a realistic way. For that, pratyaksha means prati aksha. Prati means what is in front, and aksha means eye. So what is in front of our eyes or what is very obvious. In the relation to yoga, first, the yoga is giving us the knowledge about the inner structure of life, which is not outside of us, but which is within us. In that sense, the pratyaksha or direct experience is related to the internal structure of our life on the level of the body and the mind. And to have insight into the internal structure of our body and experience what is happening in our body, the usual five senses which we are using, the five organs, eyes, ears, and nose, and the taste, and the skin, and everything is not of much use. This is the organs which are giving us the knowledge about the outer value of life, which is from the outer side of our skin, or in the field of Bahya Akasha, outer space. But yoga is related to gain the knowledge from the Antarakasha, or the inner space, from the inner side of the skin. In that sense, that eye is not related to these two eyes, physical eyes, but it is related to the eye of consciousness, of our awareness, or we can call it inner eye, the third eye, or that one eye, which is symbolically presented like between the two eyes. It means the eye of awareness, eye of inner awareness. So, and this is called also in the medical science, the proprioception. The proprioception ability to have direct knowledge or to have pratyaksha based on the proprioception, to gain direct knowledge from the internal space of our body. So our mind is getting direct information, what is happening inside our body, in the inner space. And this is nicely expressed in one saying of the Jesus Christ, where he says that the lamp of the body is the eye. If, therefore, your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. So he is very clearly speaking about the proprioception, that inner eye. If, therefore, the light of that is in you, if therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? So through the practice of the proper practice of yoga is developing proprioception more and more, so that inner awareness gets value of the inner light. In that inner light, you can very clearly experience and see without any imagination or visualization. You can directly see the internal structure of the life. And this brings the knowledge, and then on that knowledge, you can improve that function. So we can see that the very ancient experts in the yoga and Jesus Christ were giving the same instruction. So what is important is, as I said, knowledge of the internal function of our body and the mind. And we are gaining that knowledge on the basis of being silent witness to what is happening in that internal space, not in any way trying to interfere to the certain activity which we become conscious of. So first thing is to get neutral neutral attitude as a silent witness to whatever you are experiencing in that internal space of your body. So this is very important. That's why the practice is not based on visualization or imagination, the practice of yoga, and which we can find in many yoga teachings, those aspects coming in. So this is, we can say, the yoga of the direct experience. And one great master of that approach was Dr. M.V. Bole, Mukund Bole, and he structured that approach calling as Anubhava Yoga, or means the yoga of the direct experience. And I can say that he was really a unique master of yoga, and he was the medical doctor also, and he made the most of the scientific research about yoga in India. And from my experience working with him and learning from him, I can say he was real yoga master, teaching exactly in this the way how very ancient traditional approach of learning yoga was established in the ancient times. He was very humble person. He even didn't want it, that somebody address him as a guru or the yoga master in that sense. But basically, such a great people are always very humble, and they never pose, as they never tell about themselves that they are the gurus or whatever. And they are, if you see, dressing very simple and looking very simple, and but teaching the greatest wisdom. So regarding the teaching of yoga, I need to say that the real teacher is not who is telling different stories and explanations about life and preaching from the stories from Vedic literature or about God in the concept of different religions. Because you can find today many so-called teachers or gurus, they like to give lessons and to the masses of the people, and trying to explain some values of yoga through different stories and everything, and in some way entertaining the people. And people like to be passive, and they enjoy just listening those beautiful stories and having great adoration for such teachers, because they are giving them what they like, to be passive and just to enjoy some beautiful stories, and in some way feeling that they are something special on that basis. But the real teacher, or the guru, as teacher is like a guru, is who gives you instruction, diksha, how to turn your awareness inside and gain direct experience through connection with inner intelligence, which is the real guru inside you. The real guru is inside you. He is sitting there as your inner intelligence of your body, and guiding the proper function of autonomous nervous system and giving you ability to be alive. So this is the real master, is there inside you. And the outer teacher, who is whatever he is, he's role is just to allow you that you turn your attention in, that you connect with yourself, not to be passive, but to be attentive, to be aware of your inner life, experience it, understand it, and learn how to be the master of your life. So, and the real teacher is taking care that you have your own experience, not much stories of the experiences of some other. Like great masters of yoga who were in the past, or some religious concepts and everything, but he rather use the time to give you instruction how you can come in contact with you, with yourself, and then find your internal experience and your own understanding, and developing your own knowledge about the life on the basis of the direct experience. And this is in that what I said already, that the pratyaksha is the first element which is important for gaining the proper knowledge, or pramana, to gain the knowledge of the reality of what it is. Not that we try to create some other variation of that reality in any sense. This is what Patanjali speaks about vikalpa, imaginations, visualization or imagination, or using suggestions, and creating the condition of the self-hypnosis and leading you to the hypnotic state. So this is not the practice of yoga. It's not related to the practice of yoga. So in the proper practice of yoga, there is no visualization, there is no imagination, and no suggestions, because this is leading to the you can create certain things, you can visualize, you can experience what you create, what you visualize, but this is your own creation. This has nothing to do with the reality. And what is most important as the purpose of the education of yoga is that you know yourself, that you come back to yourself. That's why you need to start from experiencing reality, what is at the moment your level of experience, and then from that level, in a real way, start coming back to yourself. But not to go into the deeper ignorance by not knowing who you are, and then you are trying to manipulate your mind or anything by visualization, imagination, and try experiencing some beautiful things. You can experience, you can give yourself suggestions. Whatever you suggest to your mind will turn this into experience. Your experience, it can be beautiful, it can be beautiful imaginations, beautiful visualizations, and everything, but this is not the giving you insight into the true value of the life. This is your own creation, which moves you further from the reality, leading you to the hypnotic state. And there is a difference between the hypnotic state or the state of yoga. In the state of yoga, through the proper practice of yoga, you are reaching the state where your consciousness is fully awake, free from any content or the vrittis, and fully awake and conscious of itself, knowing itself, And in the hypnotic state, the awareness is contracted, is narrowed, not expanded, but opposite, and completely identified with certain suggestion, which your mind fully experiences and transfers this experience even on the level of the body, and it can have a very realistic experience on the level of the body, but you as a subject remains in a complete ignorance about yourself. So the hypnosis is not able to lead you to self-realization, only yoga. The hypnosis can lead you to specific conditions, and it can be used in some, we can say, therapeutic way to change some internal structures in your mind that can influence your change in your behavior and attitude. To, for example, getting rid of some bad habits. So this is that difference. That's why, for example, many times you can find today they are giving some practices of yoga, especially like yoga nidra, where they give suggestion to the people, now you feel this, now you should feel this, or other practices. So now you visualize this, and then you feel that, so full of suggestions, visualizations. So this is leading to the hypnotic experience. This is the standard procedure of the pre-hypnotic condition, giving suggestions to the person, or self-suggestions if you do self-hypnosis. So, but the purpose of the yoga is completely different: to be wide awake, fully awake, non-influenced by anything. So there are no vrittis, nothing to influence your consciousness. It is conscious of its true nature. That self-realization, or what Patanjali calls asamprajñata samadhi. This is the only purpose of the practice of yoga, to get that real self-realization state. And this Patanjali expressed in the sutra of the second chapter of Yoganga Anushtanad Ashuddhi Kshaye Jnana Diptir Aviveka Kyatehe. So that the Anushtanan means the practice. Practice of the limbs of yoga. Yoganga, anga means the limbs. Anushtanan means the practice of the limbs of yoga is for Ashuddhi Kshaye. Shuddhi means pure and Ashuddhi impure, and Kshaya means to reduce. So the practice of the limbs of yoga is to reduce impurities from our life on all levels, whether on the physical, mental, emotional level, on all energy level, on all levels. That Shuddhi Kriya is the practice of yoga. Shuddhi Kriya, the action for purification. Kriya means the action. So this is consisting different methods of the practices of yoga to improve the, to increase purity, shaucha. So this belongs to the first of the niyamas, of the 5 niyamas: shaucha, santosha, tapa, svadhyaya, ishvara pranidhanani, kriya yoga. So the tapa, svadhyaya, ishvara pranidhanani, kriya yoga in the second chapter, but there are 5 niyamas, and the first is shaucha, which is the basis of all the practices of yoga, because without removal of impurities, there is no advancement and there is no progress in yoga, because what is yoga is a natural state of life. What is not allowing us to live that natural state of life are internal impurities. So what is the practice of yoga? Just to remove those impurities, and then the life will naturally come to be as it is. And what is the nature of the life? And this is expressed here at Jnana Diptir Aviveka Kyatehe. Then when you purify, when you remove impurities, then naturally the light of the internal knowledge will be shining. And you will see reality as it is of your own life. You will get self-realization, and you will be able to see the reality of everything what is existing around you and your connection with the surrounding. So the complete knowledge of life. For that is important the practice of the limbs of yoga. So then this is the sutra number 28 of the second chapter. And then naturally after that proceeds in education of education about the 8 limbs of the life. So which are the 8 basic limbs, fields of life? It's the yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. So these are these 8 fields. This everybody who practice yoga, I think they become familiar with that. This is the central teaching of yoga, these 8 fields. And then in relation to those 8 fields of yoga, there is a specific practices which you learn. And the methodology. Now we will go through the teaching and the learning methodology in relation to any practice from the field of yoga in relation to any of these 8 limbs. So first, in the teaching of yoga is very important to that the teacher gives very clear instruction to the student. It means very clear explanation of all the steps of that specific practice. For example, to teach the student one specific asana, one yoga position. So then how to enter that position, how to stay, and how to come out from that position, from the starting point. So from the starting point, the starting position, you need to understand in relation to that asana, which should be the starting position and which should be the steps of the movement of different parts of your body to reach that position or that asana. So this is krama. Krama means steps. Different steps of the transformation of your body from the beginning stage to the asana, to assume that position, through which steps your body is moving, and you need to understand on that basis the kinetic chain of the movement, from which part of the body the movement starts, and through which joints in your body in a proper sequence that movement is spreading towards the last movement, last joint involved in forming the final position. So that kinetic chain of the movement through the skeleton, through the joints, and also the activation of specific muscles, the chain of the activation of the muscles. So like this, and also how this is related with the breathing and with your awareness, vinyasa. This vinyasa means to consciously connect the movement of your body with the breathing and your awareness. These three things together means vinyasa. Vi means few things, and nyasa, to put together, nyasa. So then vinyasa krama means while having your awareness together with the breathing and the movement and moving through different steps, transformation of your body to the final position. This is vinyasa krama, the methodology of learning the asana. How many vinyasa krama is for that asana, how many for the other asana, how many for the next asana. So the proper way how to move to the position. And then when you assume the position, how you deal with that position. The proper instruction should be how you stay in the position and what is happening, and to understand and how you work with yourself, within yourself. So that's why the practice of yoga is performed with the closed eyes. Any practice of yoga is performed with the closed eyes, even the asanas, and especially pranayama and meditation. We don't need to say about that, but also the asana, because then you use proprioception. You cannot use proprioception with the open eyes. So there is a technique, there is a method how to move in a very stable and comfortable way, even with the eyes closed. So this is because you want, for proprioception, you want to avoid any unnecessary stimulants of your brain with the outer sensations. When your eyes are open, then your brain is receiving so many impulses and stimulating through the visual field your brain activity, that your mind is occupied on that gross level and it's not able to perceive internal sensations in your body while you are moving your body. And what in the yoga we want is, this is pratyahara, we want to be fully awake of those internal sensations which you create by certain movement of your body to reaching the final position. And then in the final position, to be fully awake of these internal sensations, what is happening inside your body and then inside your mind also. For that, you need to eliminate the stimulants of the outer senses. That's why you close the eyes. That's why you don't listen any music while practicing yoga. That's why you don't burn any scent or these sticks, which giving a beautiful smell. So you don't want to use any stimulation of the senses. It's just the eyes closed, just a space with the fresh air and the silent place. And then you are completely in the internal space, your awareness using proprioception, and then you can have a direct experience of the internal sensations aroused through the movement, and you can work within yourself. And then also, as we know, that the asana is the practice only when you stay minimum 3 minutes in the position. 3 to 5 minutes is a minimum that you stay in the position, so that that position is in the category of asana. Because only then you can work with your body from inside to release all internal tensions and bring the muscles to the tonic condition. And this is the only purpose of the practice of asana. And then how to come out from that position back to the starting position, vinyasa krama, out of the asana to the normal starting position. So like this, there is a proper education. And the teacher should explain to the student all very clearly about, for specific each asana, what is the vinyasa krama to the asana, what to do in the asana during these 3-5 minutes, and how to come out from the asana. So this is just related to asana, but then the same thing is related to the practice of the kriyas or the practice of pranayama or any yogic practice. This is just one, I wanted to give one example. So the instruction must be very clear, and the student should be very, very alert in that sense. And questioning the teacher if anything is unclear in his explanation, or if anything looks to the student not logical in the exposition of the teacher, he should question the teacher. This is proper way. Don't take instruction passively and just doing what the teacher tells you. This is not the yoga. Teacher can tell you many things, but you need to think whether this has any sense, what the teacher tells. Why like this? Why not like this? Everything must be clear for the student. And then in that way, you will also see whether the teacher is really the teacher, whether he knows what he is speaking about. So this is not kind of some non-respect to the teacher. Student is not there to bow down to teacher, to obey the teacher and follow dogmatic teaching. This is not the way of yoga. Yoga is very simple, reasonable, and respectful in that sense that you respect the proper knowledge. You must pay respect to proper knowledge, not to the guru. You see, this is the this is importance. This is surrender. You need to surrender to the proper knowledge, not to the guru in that as a personality, as a person, and follow whatever he says. So there is no autocracy in yoga, and in that sense, that kind of story about following blindly what guru says and everything, this comes from the we can say hiding the ignorance of the guru. Then he's afraid that the student's asking something, then he will not be anymore on the throne. That's why it is requested that the student must ask, and you are developing through asking, through the questioning. The knowledge comes out through questioning. If you want to know something about yourself, you need to question yourself. You need to put question to yourself. But how you put question to yourself? You need to turn your awareness to yourself and try to find out. First, observe and try to understand what is going on and gaining your own understanding. So this is very important. So this is it means the first step is very clear instruction by the teacher, very reasonable, logical, not dogmatic, and explaining the reason why this way to do certain thing. Then the student understands this. When the student understands this instruction, explanation, then the teacher is doing demonstration in front of the student of that practice, just silently, and the student then silently observes. Without any speaking, the teacher just make a demonstration. And then after that, the student have time on his own, just to have mental recapitulation with eyes closed of all what he understood and what he saw, to combine this in his awareness, very clear picture about the practice which he should perform. After that, the teacher and the student do the practice together. It is the guided practice between the teacher and the student together. It means that the teacher is starting the practice and at the same time speaking what he is experiencing. And what is the next step of the experience next? And the student is doing practice together with the teacher and passing through those experiences. They get unique experience, both of them. They are connected on the level of experience and together practice. So this is the transfer of the real teaching about that technique, because there is a transfer of the experience of the teacher to the student. And then after that, and this is actually traditionally called diksha. Diksha means, dik means the direction, and the diksha means giving the direction. So the teacher gives direction to the student by directing himself in and leading the student in through the verbal communication during the practice. He gives direction to the student for his experience. Then after that, the student practice on his own. So without any speaking, anything, now the student needs to do the practice on his own. And at that moment, the teacher is just observing the student, not saying anything, not interrupting the student, just observing how the student do the practice. So 5, then 6. So at that moment, teacher is not trying to correct the student when he is doing the practice, not touching the student. This is the hands off, not hands on. Hands on method do not exist in a traditional yoga. This is modern kind of development in the yoga, which is very popular today, but has nothing to do with the traditional and methodology of teaching yoga. It is hands off. So you don't touch the student in any way, because if you touch the student, his awareness goes to the place of your touch, not where it should be inside. So there is not no allow touching. And so during the practice of the student, because the student must be in his self-referral state, he must be referred to himself, not to anybody out of himself, to some outer entity or whoever. And then after observation of the student practice, the teacher, so the teacher observe, just not without touching. And then the teacher notice where it is maybe some mistake what the student is doing. Then after the practice of the student, the teacher gives very clear explanation of the student where he can improve and where he should put attention to improve the nature of the movement or the position. So the teacher gives instruction for correcting the practice. And then on that basis, the student try to understand, integrate that again with eyes closed, making recapitulation mental of the steps of the, and in which step some mistake came, that he understands where he need to make correction. And then he make another practice. And without, and teacher again observe. And like this, these steps from 5 to 8 are repeated again and again. punah, punah, until the student does the correct practice on his own. So then the student really learn and understand. So, and at the end, the 10th step is the final demonstration of the practice by the student. And then after that, the student need to make very clear verbalization about all steps of the correct practice, like giving clear instructions to another person. So then the student need to say, this practice is done this way, and then speaking very clearly step by step, because the verbalization is confirmation of your understanding and correctness of your practice. So then if you know how to properly practice some yoga practice, you are able to teach that practice to others. That's why in yoga education, there is no difference between teaching some beginners about some yoga practice or teaching the person who will become a yoga teacher. There is no difference in the approach of the teaching. Because the person, if he really knows how to do the practice, then he will be knowing how to teach the other person. So this is the one summary of the approach, of the methodology of the teaching. And then this relates to the practice of all 8 limbs of yoga, up to it means the practice of yama, niyama, and then asana, pranayama. It means the kriyas also, and pranayama, and then meditation. And meditation leading to the state of self-realization or samadhi. After that, then when you get self-realization, then you need to gain realization of everything what is still not your own self. And this is everything around you. So the self and the non-self, the absolute and the relative. You realize yourself. Now you need to realize what is the nature of non-self. And then Patanjali gives the 3rd chapter, where he gives the practice of the samyama, based on these 3 elements, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, having 3 together in the practice of samyama. Then that samyama is applied on the 24 tattvas of the Sankhya, or the 24 elements of the Prakriti, to expand the territory of your knowledge about the nature of the Prakriti, about the nature of the relative. And then finally seeing that the relative is nothing else but vibrant absolute, and finding the unity inside and outside, and reaching the state of unity consciousness or Brahmichetana in the yogic language. This is, or we can say, perfected yoga, yoga samsiddha. Reaching that state of perfected yoga, where that samadhi is not I am that, but everything is that. And this is that education through that practice of the 3rd chapter, and reaching through that practices the final liberation, because you can become liberated only when nothing remains to be known. Then you conclude the circle. And this is the end of the 4th chapter of the teaching of Yoga Sutras. So the methodology of the teaching of yoga is leading you from through the all different practices. But first practice is go in and find your true reality, who you are, and then start to investigate what is everything around you. What is the nature which is around you, how, in which relation you are with that. And then you are finding the intelligence is there behind all the activities in nature, what in the religious languages they call God. And then you start establishing that relation with that with the God in that sense, but not with the God as today religions are presenting it. It will be your own experience of God. It is everything is based on your own experience. So you must have your own experience. Without that, you are not able to live that. Until things do not become your experience, you are not able to live them. And what is the aim is to be able to live that knowledge, which is there related, but not to be in the state of ignorance and admiring some beautiful stories which somebody is speaking about the life and all the values of this and everything, and it is finished. It's on the just the letters on the paper or the spoken words, but everything must be brought to the level of your conscious experience. And then this is enriching life. That's why the main purpose of yoga education is devoted mainly to the practice to gain experience, and very little kind of some lectures, just to clarify that experience. This is agamaha, you know what we said, pratyaksha, pramana, proper knowledge. Pramana is consisting of the pratyaksha, the direct experience, then anumana, your own understanding of your experience. First, you must have your own understanding what you experience. And then agamaha, confirmation of the correctness of your understanding in relation to your experience. And this is that agamaha, this is then those texts like Yoga Sutras, Patanjali, Bhagavad Gita, or any text, religious text, Bible, New Testament, or some other. But the question mark is how much correct and relevant text is in relation over the many years from the masters to which those text is related, how original the text is. That's why trying to find some original text in relation to the teachings of those masters who had experienced that and gave their understanding, this can help you that you say, okay, this is also what I understood through my experience. So this gives us the confirmation. So these three things, pratyaksha, your direct experience, not the experience of someone else. You must have experience. Anumana, you must have your own understanding. Use your intellect, intelligence, to understand what you experience. And then agamaha, see the confirmation of correctness of your understanding, or even through the modern scientific research about some field of life, which is giving some knowledge. So like this is, I tried to give some basic approach of the yoga education, in which the student is the main thing and not the teacher. In the yoga education, where the education is happening in the consciousness of the student. Student is important and not the teacher. The teacher just very gives here and there some input to the student to give him direction, to gain his experience, and then he can clarify. Also, the teacher can be as a reference, as an agamaha. If the teacher really went through the experiences and understands everything about the yogic practices, what he is teaching, this should be the teacher. That the teacher experienced what he is teaching, not that he teach something what he didn't experience, that he is speaking about something. Then he can serve also as agamaha in that sense. So, dear friends, so this was presentation on that point. Just few minutes. We leave for the questions. If you have any question, please ask.
Maya is here. May I ask?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I will start the video as well.
Yes.
Nice to see you. I was really looking forward to see you, and for me, it's kind of unusual. I mean, hearing you like totally presenting this in English, but it's perfectly clear and it's perfectly understood. What I wanted to say is that I'm very thankful to you and to this presentation because somehow I knew that I somewhere collected this, but I did not know what was that. So I just needed to prove that this was the methodology, yeah? And what I wanted to thank you even more and to say, because I'm just like not now at the moment at Academy, but I will continue, yes, because I'm grabbing my time. So this moment of a teacher and a student inspired me just because I got my own experience. So I started Academy when I was pregnant, you remember back then. I finished 1 year, then I started new year, I mean the second year, when I was breastfeeding. And then my son is 3.5 years. But a student of mine from the group got pregnant immediately, and she asked me for a favor to come to her place once or twice a week to lead her through all the pregnancy. So I lead it by my experience, talking about the personal experience and everything. I was just telling her what to do, I mean, leading her and everything. And now we have another, you know, like yogi angel called Dunya after 9 months.
Beautiful. Great. So this is what makes you the teacher, that you went through experience, you understand, and then you can help the others. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Professor. Thank you. You are the teacher, the great one. Namaste.
Namaste. Yes, if somebody else has still some question. So thank you very much then for participating in this webinar. And I'm very happy to announce next week, in 1 week, in 7 days, you can at the same time participate on the new webinar about the Tibetan yoga, about the life of Milarepa, the great Tibetan yogi. And the guest for that webinar also is one of the reincarnation of the greatest Lama from the Tibet, the Rinpoche. and he will speak about that topic. So it's a very beautiful topic to know something more about the Tibetan yoga approach. So thank you very much for being, and see you on the next week.
Hvala Jadranko, bok.
Bye. Bog.